Internets, hello you absolute lovelies. Let's talk all about that Supergirl trailer. This is a trailer adapting one of my favorite comics of all time, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and there is so much in just this teaser trailer that pulls directly from the comic books. If you're new to this page, I cover lots and lots of comics. I read about 50 to 70 comics a week. I'm also the comic correspondent for DC Studios, so I was lucky enough to get flown to New York to see the trailer a little bit early. So I'm filming this moments after seeing the trailer with Milly Alcock, with director Craig Gillespie, with James Gunn and Peter Safran, with a celebration of Supergirl. So I wanted to give you my first thoughts right away, but if you like comic book stuff, if you like movies, if you like TV, please hit that subscription bell. I cover all of it and I cover it professionally. So if you want to see more DC coverage, check out my show on HBO, as well as all my coverage for DC comic stuff, all of it out there. But I'm coming from a place of being a devout lover of especially this comic book. So I'm hoping to give you some comic book insights into this trailer. First of all, yes, let's get it out of the way. There is Lobo. Lobo pops up briefly in this trailer, and Lobo will be in the movie. And a cool fact about Lobo in the canon of the story is that he's not in the comic book. It's an 8-issue comic book. He didn't make that cut, but he was originally written into the series, and the editors cut the character. Tom King said it ended up being for the best. Tom King, the writer of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and that eventually they were able to find a great way to put him back in the movie, and he'll be played by the one and only Jason Momoa, who was born to play this role like Reynolds was for Deadpool or Downey was for Iron Man. But we're going to talk about Lobo later. This is a Supergirl video. Let's talk about the Woman of Tomorrow herself. First of all, Milly Alcock in this trailer absolutely embodies that swag, that brokenness, that horror. Kara Zoe-El remembers Krypton. There are a couple shots in this trailer of Krypton. There is a shot that a lot of people I think are going to think is Kandor of a bubble forming around a city. That is, you know, a very common image in Superman is Kandor, the city that is protected. But this is actually not that. It is a much darker thing that I don't want to give too much away, but know that in the comic books there is a bubble formed and that this represents something very important to Kara, and I highly recommend you read the comic. I'm not going to spoil anything too deep into the lore, but in issue 6, they deal with this bubble, and there's so much trauma around what Kara goes through because she didn't lose Krypton in a day. She lost it over time, and they allude to that in the trailer. There's a line of dialogue about it being more than just that moment, and that is beautifully illustrating the trauma and the differences between her and her cousin. The opening of the trailer is, of course, a shot of Krypto peeing on Superman, further illustrating the difference between the two of them, also showing the insanity of her home. You get a lot out of this trailer of just the differences in personalities, but you also get lines of dialogue like, you know, my cousin always sees the best in people. I see the truth. That line is so heart-wrenching, but also true to who Kara is. And the world she's built also shows that. I like the aesthetic of this world, having this steampunk, cyberpunk, western flavor, a lot of space stuff. This, in the comics, is a giant cosmic fantasy story. This is a teaser trailer 7 months out. I am shocked at how done it is, but I'm also not shocked we're not seeing the more fantastical side yet, because I'm sure that's being made. Like, this film is being put in post-production as we speak. It's wrapped so early, and they have the time to make the beautiful, fantastical visuals. But the visuals we get here are already so stunning. It's already so cosmic. There's a bus we see that I think is going to sub in for a very important like ship that travels through space between RUTHYE, our young lead, and Kara, our Supergirl. And RUTHYE is also seen briefly in this trailer looking ripped out of the comic book. RUTHYE, with her saber for just a moment, is our protagonist, basically. The comic is told from her POV in the future. You get voiceover of RUTHYE as well as seeing her as a little child, and basically KREM of the Yellow Hills, who we also see in this trailer. KREM of the Yellow Hills is this absolute monster who killed her family, and RUTHYE swore vengeance on KREM, and through a series of events involving Krypto and involving lots of horrors on a planet and lots of death and murder, Supergirl joins her on this great quest, and it takes months and months of space travel and of insane turmoil to get to the point where we meet up with KREM. So I'm assuming at some point along that way we run into Lobo, but also I'm assuming along that way we're going to get a lot of different moments from the comic books, including, I'm assuming, there's this incredible issue about the green sun, and I think I saw a very quick shot of it in there. In the comics, there's a yellow sun and a red sun that affect Superman differently. Tom King's daughter asked what it would be like if there was a green sun. What would that be like? So we wrote this incredible issue about the green sun, and it shows the perseverance of Kara, and I'm really hoping that's a factor in the film. I think it's going to be, and I need to talk about the art. The art in the comic book is some of the best in comics. It's Bilquis Evely, who won Eisner Awards, which are like the Oscars for the comics, who won Ringos, who's won so many deserved awards. And what I love about this trailer is so much of, even though they haven't shown these broad vistas yet, because I think it's being developed, they show so much that feels like Bilquis's art. There's so much that feels like it's ripped out of the comic book. Even the fight and the spinning with that like chain weapon is pulled straight from the comic books. The line of her like, you know, this isn't going to go well for any of you is a moment that's straight out of the books of her just tearing apart this bar and taking on all these people. Other key highlights from the trailer itself that I feel like pulled right from the comic is there is a moment where she is walking through the bar, and the way they frame her before they get to her like fully suited up, it reminds me of a few transitional pages between her and her like jacket runaround outfit, which we saw in movie form already in Superman, but that full reveal of the outfit feels like a pull-up frame and a splash page that comes right out of Bilquis's work. I freaking love that. There's so many settings and tones and things that I think they're going to get to once we get a little further into production. I think the next trailer, I'm personally really happy that this teaser didn't show too much of the things to come as far as the cosmic world building. It already feels spacey. It already feels cosmic. But I really love this first trailer set to Call Me being so punk and gritty. And I think we're going to see more and more expansion into this cosmic world. I think there's a potential to get dinosaurs, like in the comic books. I think there's a potential to get some insane psychedelic dragons, which is a thing that happens in the comic books. Because in this trailer, we see Milly Alcock saying, you know, 23 is going to be my year. The bar's not very high. And it's because she's lived 22 years to this point of pure trauma, remembering Krypton, losing her family, surviving in these ways. She goes to red planets to drink, and in the comics and seemingly in the movie, she starts out completely hammered and navigating the world, but she's on that red planet, so it doesn't just give her the ability to get drunk, it also weakens her, so she has to regain her abilities. A fight that happens in the comic books is she takes this drug that's illegal from the bus, which we see on this. She takes this illegal drug, and it gives her insane psychedelic powers and actual physical powers, and people are taking it to cope in deep space. So I think we're going to get some of those elements of this broken, gnarled, and hopefully psychedelic, trippy, as well as insane green sun, dinosaurs. There's so many visuals I think we're going to get, but I'm really glad we're going to get them sprinkled, I think, and later. I hope we save some of that for the movie. Those are some of the things that I noticed that I think are getting teased. Like, I feel like seeds have been planted for some of those things. They're going to sprout into insane flowers. The comic is highly recommended. It's one of my favorite modern comics, one of my favorite DC comics, one of my favorite comics. Definitely think you should check it out. There's a lot of great stuff in there. There are some things in the trailer, like a funeral, that I think I know who it is, like the bubble that I don't want to give away that isn't Kandor, like a moment that I think she's hammering lead. There's a lot of moments that are straight from the comics that are so dark, and I think this movie is going to be very punk, very fun, but really dark and full of a lot of trauma, and I think Milly Alcock really showed that. So I wanted to cover it. I wanted to talk about it right after I saw it. I'm going to be diving in a lot more. I'm going to do a live stream talking about a few more details after I've watched it again. I've only seen it twice on a screen in a giant crowd, so I need to see it again and actually scrub it. This is all from memory from 3 hours ago and seeing it in a big crowd and trying to hear everything. So I'm going to do another video, live stream, but I'm also going to do a video, I hope you guys want to check out, of all my conversations I had. I have a few things I can tell you about my talking with James. I can tell you a few things about my talk with Peter. I can show you a little video of me and Peter talking, as well as video of me and Craig, the director, and I can tell you a little bit about talking to Supergirl herself. I got to talk to Kara Zoe-El about playing Supergirl and what that was to Milly and how she found that connection. So I'm going to make that the next video I put up, and I'll tell you all about that and cut to some stuff, but I wanted to get this up as soon as possible. I appreciate y'all. Hopefully this was informative. Hopefully you enjoyed the trailer a little bit more, enriched by the experience, and read the comic. It's 8 issues. You also don't have to have ever read a comic before to understand this one. It's its own bubble of continuity, and it does affect things after, but you don't have to have read a comic before it. So if you've read comics or not, it's very approachable. Bilquis Evely Art, Tom King writing. It is genius. It is 8 issues. It's on the DC Universe Infinite app right now and at your local comic shop. Pick it up. Get some comics. Follow me, though. Also, like this video and comment. Let me know what you thought of this breakdown, and I appreciate you. All right, like, subscribe, follow, YouTube buttons. I'm going to go sleep.